All right, today we're going to talk about what it means when an ex says that they don't care about you at all. So not only are we going to be looking at what they mean, but also we're going to talk a little bit about what to do, or at least the most effective way to handle an ex who says this to you, pretty much no matter what you're trying to do. Hey there, real quick, I want to say that if you're new to this YouTube channel or you're trying to figure out what you should be doing to get your ex back and you're trying to learn if you even have a chance in your specific circumstance, probably the smartest thing for you to do is actually stop by our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, or take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz that can be found at exboyfriendrecovery.com. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, taking that free quiz is super easy to do. All you have to simply do is look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on the link you see there. It will take you directly to the quiz where you can fill it out and get an easy answer on what you should be doing going forward and overall what your chances look like in your specific situation. All right, so let's get you back to the video. Now, let's handle the $10 million question first, and that is, does your ex mean it when they say they don't care about you? Well, there's a lot to really look into here. My general answer when I deal with kind of like a situation where you're trying to figure out, well, what does my ex mean when they say this, is I'll say, yeah, they actually did mean it in the moment. But this is kind of interesting because I think what matters here is context. All right. So let's say that you and your ex are going through a breakup, because a lot of times towards the end of your relationship when things aren't going great is when they're gonna say, hey, I don't care about you, or I never cared about you at all, or some variation of that phrase. Do they mean it? Well, I think in order to understand if they meant it or not, we would need to look at the context of when it's said. So if they say, I don't care about you at all during the breakup, I'm a lot less likely to believe they meant it at all. But if you had a relationship that was a week long, then them saying they don't care about you at all seems to hold some credence, because maybe it was a situation where they're using you to make themselves feel better, or they haven't really gone to the deep end yet with regards to their feelings because you've been together with them for a week. So context does matter here, but for 99% of people, your ex doesn't mean it when they say they don't care about you. They do. There's just extenuating circumstances going on right now that's making them say these things. What a lot of people really need to understand is the opposite of love isn't actually hate. Although it's really, really hard to believe that sometimes. The truth is, the opposite of love is actually indifference. If someone truly didn't love you or care about you, they wouldn't be talking to you at all. At some level, they care. Now, how they care is a completely different sort of question to answer, but we don't have time for that, and we're going to kind of go deeper into this rabbit hole of dissecting the state of mind your ex is in when they say they don't care about you. So a lot of people are going to sit here and ask, well, why does it seem like he really doesn't care about me? I mean, he seems so authentic, or she seems so authentic when they say it. Well, that's because you're dealing with a person who probably believes it in the moment. Like I said, that's kind of the standard answer I tell to everyone when they're going through situations like this. But I think we can actually learn a lot about your ex's state of mind by understanding their attachment style. So I went ahead and took the liberty of looking through our success stories and seeing the specific exes who stated they didn't care and what kind of attachment style that I really thought they kind of wound up in. And pretty much without a doubt, the attachment style that kept coming up was avoidant attachment styles. So avoidant attachment styles is something that I've talked a lot about here on the YouTube channel, a lot on our website, Ex-Boyfriend Recovery, a little bit on our website, Ex-Girlfriend Recovery, a lot on the podcast. I'm talking about it a lot. That's the point I'm trying to make. And here's the important thing that you need to understand when you're looking at avoidant attachment styles. It is completely on brand for them to say, I don't care about you. Consider a moment what we know about avoidant attachment styles. So an ex who's avoidant is going to be less empathetic towards people in need. So that really explains you saying, it never seemed like you cared about me at all. And they're saying, I didn't. They don't empathize towards your plight or your even calls for help. Avoidants also will respond negatively to their partner's emotions because those emotions can signal that they need more attention and intimacy. Sort of like, well, if you say you think I don't care about you, that means I'm gonna have to put more work in being a little bit closer to you intimately. They don't want to do that. Another really big calling card of avoidant attachment styles is that they may actually sabotage a relationship when they get closer to taking the next step. And then another huge calling card is they believe in self-independence and they want you to be independent. So we've established that avoidants tend to, pardon the pun, but avoid. And when they avoid, they typically avoid because things are getting too serious or your attachment style actually rubs up against their attachment style. So we actually find a lot of the clients who are going to be watching these YouTube videos tend to veer a little bit more towards the anxious attachment style side. So as you can imagine, these are the polar opposites of the spectrum. And when anxious attachment styles are trying to seek more empathy or trying to seek more help for feeling like the other person is involved in the relationship, the other person, the avoidant attachment style, saying, I didn't care about you, is literally doing things to push you away because you're not independent enough. So this exercise of looking or understanding your ex's attachment style and saying like, wow, my ex checks off a lot of those avoidant sort of benchmarks can help you understand why your ex is maybe saying these things. It's a way for them not only to push you away, but also to kind of get further away so that they can grieve. Because we've learned some really interesting things about avoidant attachment styles. All right, so the number one most important thing you need to understand about avoidant attachment styles when you're looking at what makes them miss you is convoluted but makes sense in their own head. So now that you know, a lot of avoidant attachment styles basically push off anyone or anything that's not independent. It makes a lot more sense when you consider the fact that an ex who is going to grieve you and miss you, who is also an avoidant, is only going to do so when they feel you've completely moved on, when you've completely let go. Because then they feel safe enough to grieve and miss you and think about how much they actually did care about you. So timing is really important here to consider. But to answer our original question, yeah, they still care about you. They just have this really odd way of looking at it or framing it in their minds. And also, if you really just kind of step back and consider the overall situation, if you have an ex, let's say, who you've dated for a year, and they say, you know what, I never cared about you. The actions that they've put into the relationship seem to contradict that statement. But what are you supposed to do next? What do you do once you have had an ex say, I don't care about you? Well, Coach Anna and I did this really interesting podcast episode on anger and how pretty much anytime someone gets angry, it masks the way that they're truly feeling. It's a way for them to put the blame on you instead of look internally to see what shortcomings they have. And I do feel that an ex saying, I never cared about you, is done out of anger a lot of times. And it can actually be a way of them, like I said, projecting what they're feeling onto you so that they don't have to think about themselves internally. So what you need to do is just give them time to do that and then try to approach them. This is why we always talk about the no contact rule and how we're trying to reframe the way people look at the no contact rule, less as a strategy to make an ex miss you, which it can still do, and more of a strategy where we work on letting go of an ex. Now, why? Well, think of it like this. Most of the exes that we are quote unquote helping try to win back are avoidants. So avoidants really only feel like they're safe once they feel like you have let go and you have moved on. So you need to signal that you are doing those things. Probably the best piece of advice that I can give you on a short end to a video like this is find something that you're so passionate about that you actually would put it above your ex. And this is a difficult thing for a lot of anxious attachment styles. Why? Well, simply put, because anxious attachment styles put their whole being into relationships. And when those relationships don't work out, guess what? They're trying to fix those relationships. And what they need to do isn't what they want to do. What they want to do is fix the relationship. What they need to do is find something more important than the relationship. So that's where I would start if I was you. Now, before you do any of that stuff, probably the number one question that you should be answering is whether or not you should even be trying to get an ex back. Believe me when I say it's not for everyone, and you may be in a situation where you don't have that high of a chance. Now, luckily for you, I put together a special quiz on my website designed to basically help you answer this exact question. And taking the quiz is free and it is super easy. Simply look in the description of our YouTube videos and click the link you see there. It will take you directly to the quiz where you can fill it out and figure out what your next steps will be. Also, if you haven't liked, commented, or subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. Believe me when I say every little bit helps us continue making these videos. I'll see you next time.